Hello, everyone. I'm live again. As you can see, I've just woken up, so I am this. But same as last week, any questions, feel free to ask. The idea is that there's a lot of emails that come in, a lot of DMs that come in, and this is just a place for everybody to be able to ask me, and I'm able to dedicate an hour to this to make sure that I'm answering everybody's questions. So I'm going to be writing the news list on the side here. If I see any questions come in, then I'll answer them. People know it's happening on my side to make sure that I tell people about this. So I know there's 3 people watching at the moment. So if you do have any questions, let me know. It's a bit voyeuristic, isn't it? So one of the things I'm writing the newsletter right now actually is we've got 74 episodes out so far. We've got the next 21 guests booked in. So that takes us up to episode 95. And we're having to think about who should be episode 100. And obviously, the big candidate would be Rishi Sunak. So if any of you are listening right now, can give us a connect to him. Just in case to reach the highest office in the country would be a huge win for us in terms of visibility in terms of bringing. Okay, there you go. You've got me sideways. Is that not going to adjust? Is that going to be a pain? Okay. There you go. We made it. So a question from Gervir here. So my co-founder, who's on his way to work. So Gervir is asking, what's the deck review process? So what I get, and I think Gervir gets it a lot, is a ton of people through LinkedIn DMing me cold saying like, hey, how's it going? They've got an opportunity for you. I'm looking for £100,000 for my business. And like, it's very bold. You should be doing that, yes. But what we've set up is a process now. If you go to the website, you go to www. I can put the link in the comments. www.ahq/submit pitch deck. You can go through a type form we've set up there, and if you do it this way, it becomes more organized. So you go into there, you're going to get asked a bunch of questions. You're going to get asked your pitch deck, your name, the basic details, how much have you raised so far, how much you're looking for, what round are you on. So these kinds of details, which if you're at this stage, you should know at this level. And what's going to then happen is that it's going to come in on our side. Our team, led by Gervir on that side, is going to review the deck. I think it's over a period of 4 weeks is when we aim to make sure we get back to you by. And when they look at their deck, it's going to go to various different VCs that we know. So one of the greatest things about what we do is that we now are well connected within this space. We know lots of different venture capitalists from lots of different funds in all different markets, in all different areas, who can look at your deck and hopefully we'll get you funded, because that's the idea behind this, right? We're in a position now. The network people talk about is useless if you're not using it to help people. So if you're an entrepreneur and looking to get funding, send us your deck. Don't chase us, because this is something which we're providing as a service for you. You don't have to pay or anything like that. But if the deal goes through, then maybe the people on the other side, they might give us a cut. But it won't affect you at all. There'll be some we get as a bonus, like a commission. But what you need to remember for your side is that it's completely free. All you have to do is fill in a type form, which takes a couple minutes. Potentially, we then connect you with an investor. That investor could be the person that changes your company's and your startup's future. And all it takes is a couple of clicks. So if you're raising right now, go for it. Like, there's no reason not to. And I know that Gerber's been getting diligently through them as well. So make sure you take that opportunity. And also, if anybody listening to this now, whether it's live, whether you're listening to the recording, if you are looking to invest, whether it's angel investing or anything like that, get in touch with us too, because if we know what your preferences are, we're basically a massive magnet for startups and their pitch decks. So if you're looking to invest, we can match you with some people and say, look, you're really fascinated by this area. Oh, we got this pitch deck yesterday from this company. So it happened last week. I went to an event with a guy who helped build a $3 billion company. And he was saying like, oh, he really wants to invest in education and ed tech. And a couple of weeks earlier in my DMs, there was somebody who did that, and they then submitted their pitch deck to us. So now in my head, I'm thinking, okay, this guy submitted his pitch deck about education, ed tech. That guy wants to invest in ed tech. Let's put them together, right? That's a service that we can provide. And it's all about helping the community all rise together. Okay, so I'm almost finished on this newsletter now. It's hopefully going to go out. I'm going to try and aim for by past. Let's see if I can do it. So if you're not signed up to a newsletter as well, I believe it's in the description of this video. If it's not, it's www.thebayhq.com/newsletter. And that's where you get a nice roundup of what we're doing every week. So it's a good way to make sure you don't miss anything, especially we've got the podcast, we've got events, all these different things going on. And the events, I think the HSBC Innovation Banking Panel, it's now only got 4 tickets left, and it's next week, Tuesday. So we're going to try and see if we can get them to expand the capacity for us and be a bit cheeky. So if that happens, it'll be more. So events come in the next few months. That's the question from the audience there. So first one is next Tuesday at HSBC Innovation Banking. So for those of you who don't know, HSBC Innovation Banking is a former Silicon Valley bank. So they're the people that bank startups in the UK, basically. So if you're looking to start a high growth company, that's probably the place you're going to go first. And that is a panel which we have two of our board members. So that's Dimple Patel, who's both been on the podcast before. She's also had live event at Soho Works. And she came from nothing to growing a coffee shops chain and selling it to private equity. She was then the CEO of Truva, and Truva just sold to Made.com, when Made.com went bust, and she then sold it again. So she's got a massive wealth of experience and a story that's from coming from a council estate is hard to believe, but it shows you just what people are capable of. And if the right opportunities and the right people are able to support them. The next person is Hussein Kanji. So Hussein Kanji is one of the OGs of the VC space in the British Asian arena. So he founded Hoxton Ventures, which is invested in some incredible companies. I'm not going to test my memory now to see who I can remember off the top of my head. And then Jay Goodrow. So Jay Goodrow, he founded a company called GradLancer while I was still at university, which he sold. Then has had a varied experience through McKinsey, BCG, lots of Dow Jones, I think. So I might get some of the names wrong, but now what he's been running for the last couple of years is the biggest blockchain accelerator in the UK called Block Dojo. And he's now been elevated to global commercial director, and he's flying all over the world. So I think Philippines is a big focus at the moment. But he's got the other side of incubating, so accelerating the growth of some of these startups, which are now some of them seeing huge results. So that one's on the 26th. There's going to be the audience for that is incredible. Like if you have a look at the event page, which is on our website again, and it's going to go out in a newsletter, you'll be able to see that. On the 5th of October, or the 4th, the 5th of October, we've got Sifted Summit. So this is a massive event for us as well. So both of these events are huge, and well, all three events are huge. Sifted Summit is the Financial Times, which I'm sure you've all heard of. It's their startup for European startup magazine that has like the founder of Stripe, the founder of some of these global brands that everybody's heard of. I think there's about 100 speakers. So there's quite a few of our guests speaking as well. So Hussein Kanji is speaking, Nina Mohanty is speaking, Saranga Chandratilake is speaking. So there's quite a good Asian representation. But we're hosting a fishbowl, which is like a community get-together. So it's going to be me, it's going to be Dhruvan Patel of OcuShield, it's going to be Dimple Patel, so you see she pops up a lot. Then it'll be one of Siddhi Ohainen from Why Hungry, one of Varun or Sunil from Magic. And we're going to start with the discussion about like how can Asians do more to help each other out. So if you want a ticket to that, make sure you sign up to our newsletter because we've got a discount code, or you can just message us separately or email us for that discount code. It's especially for our community. So they don't let us post on socials, unfortunately. And that's going to be huge because all of the big dogs are going to be there and we're going to be right alongside them. So if you check out their website, you can have a look at some of the names there. So I think the tickets will keep going up in price. So make sure if you're going to get it soon. Then the day after, going up to Birmingham. So it's going to be our first event in Birmingham for their National Franchise Exhibition. And this is going to be with Safwan Adam. So Safwan Adam, I met him the other week. We had a chat before we went live. And he basically really struggled in school. He had a really poor attendance rate. Then he got sent to another school and managed to turn around a little bit. And he ended up going to aerospace engineering. But he didn't want to study. He didn't want to work for anybody else. And maybe some of you feel like that as well. We just don't enjoy that kind of atmosphere. And he then worked for a bit and he was able to, what he got some like support financially to be able to buy his first franchise, which is a CEX store. So that's a like software and hardware store. I haven't been there, so I don't know. But he then grew that. So he grew to 6 shops in a very short amount of time, which is like the fastest growing person. He then took on a German doner kebab. He started up care homes. He's got like a hugely diversified portfolio and he's getting more into investment and stuff now as well. So he's got an incredible journey from where he started to where he is today. And again, he's a big believer in supporting the community and giving back. So I'm really excited for that interview. And that's going to be that's going to be the NEC Arena. So again, a huge venue. So Sifted Summit is at the magazine. So again, another massive venue. So these are huge events coming up. Is there anything else confirmed yet for the Bay HQ? So we've got a few other things in the works, which I can't announce just yet. But keep your eyes and ears peeled because more is coming. Okay. So remember, feel free to ask your questions. This is your time to bug me if you want to, because I'm getting slower at DMs, unfortunately. Exhibition. I am spelling at the moment for the newsletter. National Exhibition podcast. So just had another podcast guest book in. Also, can you guys hear me okay? Because I've had someone message saying that it's quite unclear. Let me know if you're struggling to hear me from a bit crackly in the comments. October. So the person who's booked in is Farah Tahar Chowdhury, who's going to be leading partnerships at Dow Jones. So we're going to get her advice on how to create great partnerships, and so you can do that for your companies as well. So that has just been booked in. So I'm just updating our CRM system for that. And I've lost it. Where have I gone? Okay. So I've missed my little target there because I was answering questions for the newsletter. But I'm imagining once I send this newsletter out, there should be a lot of people coming through. Um, yeah, do let me know if you're struggling to hear me, because otherwise this becomes me talking to myself and nobody able to hear it. I will be back in a couple minutes as I just upload this. I think the newsletter. Oh no, I need to update the images there. Thought I had it ready to send. So newsletter is coming any minute now. Mhm. So my plan was this morning to wake up early and get this newsletter done before this started, and I slept too long. So it happens Monday morning, but we're nearly there now. So once this newsletter out, then I'll just keep talking for a while. So what we got? Downloads. I'm just going to share some random lessons I think are hopefully helpful to people. So there you go. Let's flip this image, upload new image. Mm. So also for the newsletter, I use a program called Beehive or software. So Beehive is what I recommend to anybody who's going to start a newsletter. And what essentially allows me to do is we're not using it to its full capability at the moment. We're not on the scale plan, which once we get a bit more funding, that's what we're going to do. But the ease of use, the features in it, and also the growth levers you can pull are exceptional. So I strongly recommend that. And you can also see on the other thing I do, the Entrepreneur's Handbook, I interviewed the founder of them last week. So they've raised like 2.5 million in the last round, have had newsletters on there grow from 0 to 250,000 subscribers and sell it for 70 million. So definitely recommend Beehive. That's what I'm using, and recommend lots of people to do that as well. So now I am just quickly checking this, the test email. Yep, that is good. I just need to update the episode number. So what I'm also doing, for example, is that I'm writing newsletters this time, but next I'm going to record myself and I'm going to have it said that our assistant is able to do a lot of this for me, and then I can just come in with the color and the commentary afterwards, right? So that is now going out. Say publish now. Okay. So let's have a jump. Quick check my messages. Okay. So there's people watching right now who haven't asked any questions, I believe. So if you're lurking, show yourselves, let us know what's happening. What we've got now, so where are we? We are mid-September. So it's actually coming up to 11-month anniversary was 2 days ago. So the 1 year is going to be October the 16th. So what I can just do quickly is reflect on some of the things we've done so far. So we've had 75 people on the podcast so far. We've had events at Balderson Capital, which is our launch event. And Balderson Capital is one of the biggest venture capitalists in Europe. We've had 2 live podcasts at Soho Works, one with Dimple Patel, who I mentioned earlier, and one with Nav Sawhney. So Nav Sawhney is of the Washing Machine Project. And those are incredible, right? Because there's one thing if you're doing content and people are liking, get well like that. It's another if they turn up to events and afterwards they stand around chatting and they enjoy it, right? And that's what we want to do more of. We've also been doing football events. So football is just a nice way for people to get to know each other in a non-networky way. And we're going to do more of those kind of events too. So if you're listening to this right now, whether it's live or whether it's afterwards, let us know what kind of events would be interesting for you, because we want to make sure that we're being accessible. And I know not everybody is comfortable going to networking events where it's everybody having drinks and stuff like that, especially whether it's your religious beliefs, whether it's just your kind of demeanor, right? Like you don't like being in those kind of rooms, and you shouldn't have to suffer because of that. So we're looking into different ideas there. So one idea, for example, is just like painting, right? So get a bunch of people together who all got common interest in maybe building a business, something like that, but you do painting. It's okay, I can see messages coming in on my side. So there's lots of different things going on there. So we really want to hear from you guys, right? We want to hear what you want to do, because going to like networking events, it suits a certain type of person. But it also attracts sometimes people who can be, you get sometimes people that are pushy, sometimes that have a bad experience. So we're really trying to create a experience for people where everybody is welcome. And for example, like the agency event is more targeted at established founders, and then other events are more open, but we're trying to get that mix. So we'd love to hear from you, right? Tell us what you want, and we can try to make it happen, especially as the sponsors and everybody comes on board. Then we've also been doing, as we mentioned earlier, about the deck. So we've been helping people get funding. We've been talking a lot to venture capitalists and angels so that we can help make some people's dreams reality. So I can say who I invested in personally. So I invested in, actually, I'm not sure. One of them is going to be announced next week. So I invested in them a while ago. They've been on the podcast, but I can't make the announcement because they haven't made the announcement yet. But 2 of the guys who haven't been on the podcast yet, which I probably should do, is Neil Thakra and Dhruvesh Rampura. So again, they came in through the deck process. They put their decks on the website. They chatted to me. They chatted to Gurveer. Gurveer was like, this is a great business. I then put my money where my mouth is with them. And what they're building is a loyalty card scheme. And what's interesting as well is they're doing it out of Leicester, because so often London is the hub of startup space, but there is a lot of people doing amazing work in other parts of the country too. So as we grow and as we get more people on board, we want to be traveling a bit more in the country and doing those kind of things too. Then my other two investments, so one is Naya, again, they came through this, but it's a female founder, CEO, or it was a CEO. So that's again like a company which is trying to help diversity issues within large companies. And my final one was Auxeris, which is a recruitment platform by a queer woman. So again, I seem to be investing in diversity. So putting my money where my mouth is. It's not that I have anything against not investing in diversity, but a lot of the time, these people that I've invested in, it's harder for them to raise money than it would be for other reasons because of unconscious biases, whatever it is. So that's been a big part of it too. And behind the scenes, one of the things we're working on now is to do more school talks and university talks as well. So if you'd love for us to come into your school or your kid's school or your like your nephew, your niece, your cousin, whatever it is, we'd love to do that. So I'm going into my high school in the next couple of weeks because a lot of Asian people, we don't get told about the opportunities of the startup space and how you can build a business. It's always go down the professional route a lot of the time at school. And it doesn't mean we're encouraging people to drop out, like anything, like definitely not that. But if you know the opportunities available to you when you graduate from university, you could already got some reps in, you could already tried a few things out. Because you do hear often, so there's people come at different points of life. But if you can make some mistakes while you're at university and you have a bit more of a freedom to fail, then that's a great thing to do as well. So we're trying to get that going too. So November the 7th, I'm giving a talk at Bath University. So as far as I understand, it's only for students at Bath University. But that will be diving deep into startups and outsiders guide. And what I'm going to try and help them, the students do, is to navigate what does a startup world even mean? Because I studied economics at Bath, and the idea of working at a startup never even crossed my mind. It was always, what's the biggest brand name? And not to throw shade on any people who work at big company names, but what we've done with the HQ here is we've built something from the ground up ourselves. And we've got more people on board. So me and Gabe obviously started it. And that, like, we've done this with we can't be like, oh, we're Citibank or we're Barclays. Like, we've had to build our own reputation from scratch, and it just makes it so interesting. How do you get the funding? So we've got a question come in, so I'm going to stop rambling. So how do you get the funding to invest in other companies? Is it your own money or another source? So what we're doing at the moment, so angel investing is generally private individuals who've made a bit of money who can then invest it. So before I'm doing what I did now, so I worked in consulting for about 7 years. I invested my money quite well, and I was investing mainly in the stock exchange and like traditional investments. And what that meant is I built up a bit of savings. I haven't got a huge amount of savings, but I've got enough to do a few different plays. So I've invested in 4 companies, and the 5th one is probably quite likely soon. But I'm having to slow down because obviously I don't have unlimited funds. So I'm investing my own money. But the Bay HQ itself, what we're doing is connecting people with other investors. And those people have much bigger pockets than we do, right? So you can imagine some of the people we've had on the podcast, if they've created these massive companies, they've got quite a bit of money, and there's only so much money you can put into an ISA. And what it is, by investing in startups, if you use the right governmental links, so the schemes, is quite tax efficient. So what the government has done is set up EIS and SEIS, which encourages people, if they've got spare cash, to invest in startups. Because I won't test my memory now, but I think SEIS, you get 30% income tax relief. And if the company fails, you get another 30% back. So what that means is that the upside is unlimited, pretty much, right? Say, let's say you invested in Revolut in the early days, you make 1,000, 10,000, 20,000% return. Obviously, most companies fail, and this is where you've got to be careful. But from my perspective, even if the companies invested in fail, I'm going to be learning in that process. So it's helping me to understand the process better and be part of that journey to try and help the people I invested in. So it's me kind of living vicariously through them. So For Amadou Palmer's investments, it's my own money. For the Bay HQ, we don't invest ourselves. We're the connectors to help venture capital funds and high net worth individuals to find companies to invest in. So hopefully that answers your question. So we've got another 10 minutes left, so feel free to ask questions. How does the Bay HQ actually make money? So we're doing a Q3 review episode, I think the week after next, where I can go into a bit more detail. So the Bay HQ is a not-for-profit primarily at the moment, and we're changing the legal structure in next week, but I can go through that in proper detail. But right now, this is us investing in trying to help the community. So we're going to have sponsors on board. We're going to have different things come on board. We're going to do private advisory work, for example. But this is something which we're doing to try and help out, basically. So I essentially made my money through consulting and then through being a creator. And then my co-founder, Gervit, he's been working in private markets. So that's private equity, venture capital. So when many organizations much larger than us, people much richer than us, have kind of talked the talk, we're trying to walk the walk, and we're putting our own money into this to fund it, to get off the ground. And then now we're seeing the rewards of that as we're doing partnerships and collaborations with companies such as HPC Innovation Banking and people like that. So there's essentially two arms: the not-for-profit arm, which has been the focus at the moment, and there's for-profit arm too. So if we look at the connection side of things, what would happen is that we're not charging any of the startups for those connections, because the idea is we want to help people. It's Robin Hood, right? Is that you help the people who need the help, and then the people at the top, the investors, so say you're a venture capital fund, we wouldn't just be sending you loads of deal flow, which is what it's called in terms of startups, for free, because those people can afford it, they do have the money, and we're saving them their costs. So if the venture capital funds, they might pay us a percentage of what they've invested to the company, and we'd make money in that way as well. But there's a more complicated model than that, which I'm going to break down properly in an episode, not next week, I think it's the week after it's coming out. But that's when I'll sit down and really map out, okay, this is the Bay HQ, this is the Bay HQ impact, and what that actually means. Because the legal side of things has been quite fun, because obviously this is a new area for us, and we're trying to understand exactly how we can be transparent as possible to show people exactly when we also take donations, for example. If anybody's going to donate or if anybody's going to sponsor us, we can show them that this is where money's going to, this is the impact it's going to make. So one of the things so from a legal perspective as well, I don't give financial advice, because if somebody follows my advice and they lose their money, then it's on me. So what I do myself, so this isn't financial advice again, this is just edutainment, is I would generally fill my ISA first, because that's safe. It gives me a bank of money there. And once somebody has filled their ISA, that's where they can start looking at other types of assets generally. So basically, you want to have safety, you want to have, it depends also where you are, right? So I've got some of my money in like fun crypto projects, for example, where the failure rate is high, but it's just for me to learn to see, is this interesting, like what's going on there. Then some of it for me is also in angel investing, and then a lot is in cash, a lot is in my businesses, so I've invested the money there. So I'm investing myself essentially, right? So for example, me investing money in the Bay HQ is me, and if you truly back yourself, then you can put money into your own businesses on the expectation that that money will multiply and you'll be able to pay yourself back. If you get equity in a startup, then you don't have to help the startup, no. So the angel investors, it's it varies a lot. So some angel investors will be very active. They'll have a calls with the people. They'll basically be on the board. Then for somebody like me, is that okay? So if we rewind a moment, so if you're trying to start a company and you're early stage, generally you want as few people on your cap table as possible, because if you've got too many investors, you've got too many different stakeholders, right? And people are going to want different things to be clashes. So people tend to like fewer investors, but each of those investors put in more money. Whereas, say for me, I didn't put in as much money as a lot of the other investors, but I bring other things too, right? So I can bring a lot of strategic importance, a lot of strategic networking. I can make connections. I can help people with my knowledge of marketing, my knowledge of content, my knowledge of the online space. So for the companies I invested in, I'm actually probably the smallest investor in all of them, but I want to be involved. You don't have to be. You can just invest the money and like. But the other thing to remember with early stage startup investing is that your money is usually locked up for say 6 to 7 years. So that's why it's very illiquid. So it's something which you can only you should only do once you have the financial position to do that. So if I lose that money, it sucks. But I'm not going to be on the streets, and that's a really careful thing to think about. You've got to look at your own financial situation to see whether that works out. But every company is different. Some companies won't take on an investor unless they're going to be actively involved. A lot of founders, if you think about it, a lot of founders don't actually want people to be actively involved. They'd rather be able to get their heads down and do their own work rather than have their investors telling them what to do. So yeah, there's different. It depends on the founder and the investor relationship. So you've got 4 minutes left. I really should get my coffee before I do these rather than afterwards. Okay. So did I answer your questions there? So obviously, as I said, like I don't advise people on what they should do with their personal finances because that's a risky game to get into, and I don't want to get sued. But I said what I did with my own money, and again, what I do with my own money is quite unconventional, but that's because I've got like years and I speak to so many investors and so many entrepreneurs that I feel comfortable doing that. So I would never advise anybody to do anything unless you really research and feel comfortable in what you're doing. So we've got 2 minutes left. So last week we had a couple of questions. This week we had a few questions. So what I'm trying to do is I'm working on my organization of this, right? Because I've only done 2 of these lives so far. And I think it is better for me to do it at home like this because I've got a bit more control. Look on my other screen so I can be monitoring different things at the same time. But next time I'll come prepared. So what I'm going to do next time is I'll have the newsletter out before we start. And then what I'll do to begin with is just run through the newsletter for the first, say, 15, 20 minutes. And that gives the time for questions to come in and bank up and then go through that. But otherwise, thank you everybody for joining today and hopefully it was useful. So remember, anything you want, just let us know. And this is the forum to ask all these questions because emails, DMs, etc., and like that, they get very busy very quickly. So thank you for joining. So I'm just going to wait until the hour. Let's see. just in case any last minute questions. And I am